Think about those times, you've tried talking to your phone or maybe your smart speaker.
Oh, yeah. Frustrating. Right.
Totally. You start saying something and boom, it cuts you off. Or worse, it completely misses the point because it didn't catch the first few words.
Yeah, that context thing is killer. It feels so stilted.
Exactly. It's less like talking and more like waiting in line, hoping you phrase the command just right.
Right.
But what if that could change? Imagine if talking to an AI actually felt, well, authentic, like a real conversation.
Where it pauses when you do, maybe acknowledges you're still thinking.
Yeah, and actually remembers what you were talking about 5 minutes earlier.
Well, that's pretty much the promise behind ChatGPT's advanced voice mode. And today, we're going to do a deep dive. We've got YouTube guides, Reddit threads, tech journalist comparisons of all the sources you sent over.
Right, and our mission here is simple. Cut through the hype. We want to pull out the really practical, maybe even surprising ways this tech is genuinely better than what you're used to.
Sort of a shortcut to understanding how you can actually use this advanced voice stuff now, not like waiting years down the line.
Exactly. And hey, before we jump into the tech details, just a quick thing. If this deep dive resonates with you, if you find it useful,
Please do us a favor.
yeah, hit like, subscribe to the show, maybe suggest some new topics you want us to tackle in the comments.
And check the description. We've got links in there for products we talk about, maybe some fourth wall merch too.
Okay, cool. So let's get into how this thing actually works, the mechanics.
We have to start with this key technical difference because it really explains why the conversation feels so different. Advanced voice. It's built on what they call natively multimodal models.
Okay, natively multimodal. Break that down for us. What does that mean in practice?
It means the AI is basically hearing, thinking, and talking all at the same time, in real time.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just processing the words, but also like the rhythm of your speech, your pauses, those natural cues. And crucially, it gets rid of that delay.
You mean the delay where standard assistants have to, turn your speech into text, think about the text, then turn text back into speech?
Exactly. That whole chain adds latency. Dead air. Advanced voice just listens and responds almost simultaneously.
Okay, that makes a huge difference. No dead air. It feels more like a fluid back and forth. Right, let's talk about using this. We pulled 3 kind of non-obvious tips from the sources for you, the listener.
Okay, tip 1 tackles personalization. You know those custom instructions you can set up for text chats, like always reply like a pirate or whatever?
Yeah, I assume they wouldn't work with voice.
Well, surprisingly, they do.
Yeah.
But here's the trick. You have to set them up in your settings before you start a new voice chat. It only picks them up for fresh conversation.
Ah, okay, so set it and forget it, but do it before you hit the voice button. That's actually a big help for keeping the persona consistent.
Definitely. Tip 2 is about languages. Global use. The sources say it handles over 50 languages.
50, wow.
But the really cool part is how fluid it is. You can actually switch languages mid-conversation.
Really? So you could be talking in English and just say, okay, switch to German now.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it just does. Instantly. No need to stop and start over.
That's pretty amazing for travel or multilingual families.
Although we should mention this little caveat we found from a German user. They noted that even though the interaction is natural, the German voice might still have a bit of a heavy American accent.
Oh, interesting. So even with this advanced native audio processing, perfect accent simulation isn't quite there yet.
Seems like it. It shows there's still some refinement needed, even if the conversational flow is spot on. Good nuance to keep in mind.
Definitely. Okay, final tip. This one's super practical. What do you do when the AI is just going on, reading a long recipe or explaining something complex?
Yeah, you need a reliable way to interrupt it.
Exactly.
So the specific phrase users found effective is, stop talking until I tell you to start again.
Stop talking until I tell you to start again. Okay, very direct.
A bit blunt? Maybe. But apparently it works reliably. It lets you pause, maybe grab that ingredient you forgot, without the AI just rambling on and losing your place.
That's super useful. Speaking of practical stuff, the sources really hammered home how this real-time flow makes it amazing for education.
Oh, absolutely. Tutoring, I think, is arguably the biggest, maybe even world-changing use case here. It's like having this infinitely patient mentor available 24/7.
And especially for language learning, right? We saw prompts for setting up mock oral exams.
Yeah. The AI asks you questions, they get harder as you go, and it gives you feedback right then and there.
What are learners saying about it, like on Reddit?
They're calling it a complete game changer. Seriously. It removes all that awkwardness of trying to find someone to practice with or feeling judged.
So you get unlimited practice with something that sounds pretty close to a native speaker.
Exactly. And users specifically mentioned the responses feel more conversational, simpler,
Yeah.
less like reading an encyclopedia entry, more like talking to a patient human.
That natural style really matters. It makes it feel like practice, not a test. And this fluency, this ability to handle context, it goes beyond just learning, right? Into daily tasks.
For sure. Let's talk about two really powerful examples, translation and brainstorming.
Okay, translation first. How easy is that to set up?
Super simple. You just give it a clear rule up front. Something like, okay, you're going to translate between English and Spanish, wait for one person to finish speaking, don't add any extra comments, just translate.
And it works quickly.
Instantaneously, according to the sources. If you're traveling or just in a situation where you need quick translation, you've basically got a pocket interpreter. You get up to an hour a day, which is pretty generous.
An hour is a lot. Okay, but the one that really caught my eye was brainstorming. Because typing out ideas can really kill the flow.
Oh, totally. Voice is just so much more natural for that kind of creative, free-flowing thinking. The example they used was great, setting the AI persona to customer experience consultant.
Right. To solve that classic problem, strict 14-day refund policy, but the customer wants a refund after 5 weeks.
Yeah. And the AI, in its consultant role, immediately laid out 3 clear options.
What were they again?
1, stick firmly to the policy. 2, escalate it to a manager immediately. Or 3, offer something else, like store credit as a value add.
And it didn't just suggest the options.
No, this is the kicker. It then instantly drafted sample emails for each option. Professional, friendly, concise emails ready to go.
That's not just brainstorming, that's actual problem solving and execution support. I love the idea of taking a brainstorming walk with it.
Right. Just pop in your earbuds, walk around, talk through a problem, and come back with like fully drafted solutions.
This ability to create structured output from a casual conversation, that feels like a bridge to what developers are doing. You mentioned the API.
Exactly. This gives us a peek into the real-time voice API that OpenAI announced.
So what are people actually building with this commercial version?
We're seeing the early stages of true AI companions. Think Discord bots that can actually hang out and chat during a game, offering tips or just commentary, way beyond text commands.
Okay, companions. What about business uses?
Yeah, companies are experimenting with things like automated phone agents using Twilio. Imagine an AI handling customer service calls with real conversational ability, understanding context.
So the fun stuff we're seeing, like role play and accents, those are kind of the consumer-facing demos of this underlying powerful tech.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which leads us nicely into that fun stuff. Role play, accents, conversational depth. This is where advanced voice really shines in a different way.
Because it can simulate things like motion, different accents.
Yeah, and the range is huge. We saw examples like adopting a Swiss-German accent or explaining quantum computing in a pirate voice, just to make it more engaging or fun.
Pirate explaining quantum computing. Okay, that's memorable.
But it gets deeper. It can simulate emotion, too.
How does that work?
Well, imagine setting up a scenario where the AI plays an aggressive private investigator and you have to practice responding as a reluctant witness.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds intense.
Right. But it's a safe space to practice handling stressful social interactions. Some sources even suggested it could be like a form of exposure therapy, controlled practice.
That's miles beyond asking an assistant for the weather. It's interacting with simulated personalities. And this depth allows for creative stuff too, right? Not just Q&A.
Absolutely. You can prompt it to only answer you in the form of a poem, for example, or you can collaboratively outline a novel with it back and forth. It handles tasks that need real context and creative analysis.
Which brings us to the inevitable comparison. How does this stack up against the assistants we already have, like Siri, especially with the new Apple Intelligence updates?
This is crucial context for you, the listener. Based on the competitive analysis, advanced voice seems to have a significant edge, especially in conversation quality.
Let's break down those advantages. What's the first key difference?
Okay, advantage 1 is complex recall, memory, basically.
Right, because with Siri, even the new version often feels like each question starts fresh. You have to repeat yourself.
Exactly. ChatGPT, with this voice mode, is built to hold context across a much longer, more complex conversation. It remembers details from earlier and uses them. It feels, well, more like talking to someone who's actually listening and remembering.
Okay, recall. What's number 2?
Advantage 2, multimodal sight. being able to see through your camera.
Yeah, Siri can't do that yet, right?
Not in the same integrated way. The example used was finding a weird painting at a thrift store. You just point your phone, ask, "What is this?" And the AI analyzes the image and tells you the title, artist, maybe even the date. Purely visual input combined with conversation.
That's pretty cool. Advantage 3.
Adaptive voice. This goes
Uh,
back to the naturalness.
The pauses, the ums.
Yeah, those little human elements. It makes the voice feel less robotic, more authentic. It just lowers the mental barrier of feeling like you're talking to a machine.
Makes sense. Number 4.
Real-time learning. This is about personalization.
How so?
ChatGPT voice actually learns from your specific interactions. It adapts its style and responses based on how you talk to it, tailoring itself over time. Siri gets updates, sure, but this is learning tailored to the individual user, making each conversation potentially better than the last.
Okay, that's a subtle but important difference. And the last one, number 5.
Complex problem solving. This is the big leap beyond simple tasks.
Not just setting timers or checking scores.
Right. It's about tackling those bigger things we talked about, drafting business emails, analyzing customer service scenarios, outlining creative projects, tasks that require genuine analytical thought, not just pulling info from a database. It acts more like a collaborator.
So, pulling this all together from our deep dive, it seems advanced voice mode really does shift how we interact with AI. It makes it genuinely conversational.
Yeah, and incredibly useful for specific things like language practice or even just multitasking like brainstorming while you're out for a walk or cooking dinner.
But there's this lingering competitive question, isn't there?
There is. It's fascinating. ChatGPT clearly has the edge in conversational ability and that real-time learning right now. But Siri, or Apple Intelligence, have this potential trump card. Access to vast amounts of your personal data stored locally on your device.
Your emails, your calendar, notes, location, all that context about your life.
Exactly. Stuff OpenAI doesn't have direct access to in the same way. If Apple can safely and effectively leverage that local data, well, that gives Siri potentially enormous contextual power.
Which leaves us with a really provocative thought for you to chew on. What happens when these two strengths inevitably collide or combine?
Imagine it. ChatGPT's amazing conversational learning ability merged with Siri's deep, secure access to your personal world.
That feels like the end game, doesn't it? The truly unified, context-aware assistant we've kind of been waiting for.
That future might be closer than we think.
Definitely something to watch. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into ChatGPT's advanced voice.
Hope it was useful.
Yeah, don't forget to check the description for all the source links we mentioned. And please let us know in the comments what topics should we tackle next. What do you want to deep dive on?
We love getting your suggestions.
We really do. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.